What is
going on? What's up? What's
I
up?
don't know if you guys can even hear me right now, honestly.
Some technical issues.
We
but
might
maybe.
be ghosts. We might not be ghosts.
Boo! It's Halloween time. It only seems appropriate. Only seems appropriate.
Okay. Well, listen. You got Carter. You got Crawford. We're on air. We're on. We're good.
The
We're
DriveWire
up.
team.
We're live. We're off.
CFRE. Thank you for listening.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was in like music mode or something. What's up? You got Carter. You got Crawford. It's a Wednesday. We're in studio.
Happy Halloween season, I should say.
Happy Halloween to everybody.
We're festive here at
Welcome back to
DriveWire.
Reading Week, right?
Yeah, welcome
Halfway
back.
through the semester.
It's scary. That's a scary time. Nerves are getting a little shaky.
Yes.
But you guys all can do it.
There's also like setting the tone for this conversation that none of our readers or listeners can see. There's like a weird baby.
Oh, man.
And it's like biting its own foot.
It's like a cannibalistic baby upon itself.
And there's like blood on the arms of this baby.
It's drawing a lot of attention I'm seeing from the students as well.
It's
They are interested in cannibalistic babies.
Like a mortalistic, like fatalistic kind of art piece. Meets terrifying, like genuinely terrifying Halloween
decorative
kind of like thing. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at while we talk to you today.
It's a good view. It gives us that spooky season because it's Halloween. We want to see cannibal babies, because that cannibal baby, he's obviously trying to push himself to get to where he wants to go in life, and that's what we're all about, trying to do in this show. You know what I mean? So that baby's almost a little motivated.
Listen, I'm gonna kill it there. We are not trying to be like the cannibal baby across the hallway. That's not our game. Listen, but our game really is, and this is what Crawford's getting at, is we're looking at finding a way to help artists earn money on their art, to help artists advance their careers, to help artists find the people who are doing what they want in art, in what we, the artists, are trying to do. We're finding the people who are currently doing it and asking them how it's done. It's a really, really interesting topic. We have a lot of feedback that's hitting in, and there's a couple things that I've learned along the way that I want to talk about today before we get into our guest. And it's going to be, I'm not even going to tell you who it's going to be.
Not even going to know. Surprise. You got to listen to find out.
His first name's Kyle. You have his first name. There you go.
Ooh, it's not Kyle Swagger like a lot of the first guests we ever had.
Oh yeah, that was our first.
That was our first guest. It's not Kyle again. It's a different Kyle.
So before that, I heard this really interesting thing this week.
Okay.
I was listening to, I don't know if anyone knows Abraham Hicks. If you don't know Abraham Hicks, don't worry about it. I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and essentially what she kind of points out, like, look, so many people in life are not doing something that they want to do because they're so worried about what other people are going to think about when they do it. Like, and I know this is directly relevant to musicians, to artists of any type, especially if you're a creative type. Like, it's very easy to be self-conscious about the things that you're creating.
We're talking like judgment,
absolutely,
like impressions and judgment, negative.
Or positive.
Comments or positive. Okay, even positive can be shaky.
And so many artists, musician types, they and I can speak for musicians, but I know this must be relevant to others, but specifically musicians, they're so sometimes paranoid about what other people are thinking that it begins to affect them.
Like the art they create.
Not even necessarily that, but it must on some level affect the art they create. But also, like, they take different actions. Like, maybe instead of releasing their art when they create it, they hold on to it, and now they have a whole terabyte full of drive of stuff that's unreleased.
Just a whole unreleased album.
I don't know if anyone's ever broke it to you this way, but you're not going to explode if no one's ever heard your music or seen your art or seen a photo you've taken. You know what I mean? You're not going to take photos and keep them. You're going to put them out there somewhere. And so this really beautiful way of saying it is like, instead of worrying what other people think about you, realize that other people don't think about you.
Oh, that's a big one to take in because it's like you have to kind of realize that people aren't always thinking about you to then be realized
and
to push yourself there.
Yeah, man. And it's like, look, you're the center of your life.
Yes.
If someone tells you that you're not the center of your universe, like, you can correct them and say, look, I am the center of my universe. Mm-hmm. I'm not the center of the universe, but
No.
of mine I am. And that's true.
Yeah, because you are the master of
Right.
your own dojo.
And so, but you have to take yourself out of the center of other people's universe. I am not the center of your universe. And so, like, how little time do you actually spend critically thinking about the people around you? It's probably zero, unless you're an asshole.
I'm always trying to help people with their situations. And I
Right.
feel like sometimes I shouldn't just try because I've seen it the past months, let's say, there was a situation I was trying to help an individual because I was aware of what they were trying to do and where they were trying to go. And I saw there wasn't a good path. And I'm like, you probably shouldn't do this. But no matter how much I tried to care about them, they didn't really care to listen. And I think I was trying to maybe try to be their center of their universe and trying to help them correct their lives, even though really I had no business trying to help them live their life. It's just a good act that I'm trying to do. But ultimately, at the end, it doesn't really matter.
didn't help.
You know, I can use the F word here. It doesn't effing matter what I think about, that's their life. To express I'm getting a lot of bad looks, I feel, behind my back. It's to express how much I shouldn't care about their lives.
They weren't bad looks. They were looks.
They were looks.
Not bad looks. So, but I really want to make sure that we don't get too far off this because I want to get this out there. So if you or someone you know is in the position where you're worried about what others will think, you can completely and undeniably abolish the fear by recognizing that no one is thinking about you. They don't care. And this is the second point, which is directly related to this, which is also related to a conversation we had before we went on air, is do everything, speak everything from the point of view of the other person. So I'm going to keep this related to art for a second. If I'm trying to connect to a group, I want to share my art, and I want a huge population of people to love it. I cannot talk about me unless I am looking to appeal to those who are like me, right?
Like, so you're trying to sell yourself to other like-minded individuals like yourself?
How about this one? Imagine I'm a left-handed person, which I actually am left-handed.
Yes.
Is anyone else in this room left-handed? You all righties? Oh, I'm outnumbered here. Son of a gun.
I want to teach myself to write with my left, but it doesn't
I'll
matter.
teach you. I won't teach you. Listen, the reality is, though, imagine I wanted to appeal to 90% of the population.
Okay.
Right? And I wrote a song about left-handed people.
Okay. It's not going to land with 90% of the population.
Do you get where I'm coming from?
Definitely.
You know what I
Because
mean?
You have to know your audience. You have to hit your audience.
I'm
you have to
freaking
target.
doing. It doesn't matter how good the song is. That's what's crazy. Like
It has to be relatable.
And so I'm over here super nervous about releasing it because look at what all these right-handed people are going to think about me. And you know what? They aren't.
And they're not going to.
And so it's so beautiful because now I'm literally giving to the listener permission to just release your shit. Like, just put it out.
Do it.
Do it. Yeah. Worst case scenario, like a bunch of losers hate on it online because they don't have anything better to do than to listen to your garbage and tell you it's awful.
Yeah, but that's the best thing is that, you know what? They still listen to it, and that still benefits me because that's at least one more person that might listen to it, and then they might even share it. They'll be like, dude, you want to hear this crappy song? And then they show it to somebody, and that person might like it.
But here's what's actually far more likely. One, people actually come back and listen twice because they liked it. And by the way, now they are thinking about you a little bit more than they were. Two, someone who's better than you tells you what to do better. Hey, man, your snare, your mic is a little bit too close. It's way too hot. Every time that snare hits, I can't hear the rest of your mix. Drag it down in the mix or take that mic and pull it away a bit. You'll have a better, clear. Holy crap. You just grew a little bit because you didn't care what someone thought of you or you had enough cojones or enough clarity because someone told you that freaking no one's thinking about you. It's the most beautiful. It gives you permission to do whatever you want because until you actually aren't flying under the radar, you're flying under the radar.
No one knows about you, and you can do whatever you want to get noticed.
Holy crap, man. Yeah. You know what freaking John Mayer and Joe Bonamassa and all these huge Steve Vai and Joe Satriani wish? They wish that they didn't have something to actually have to stand up to my standards so they could do something different with their art because they want to create that now. That's what they want, and you have it. Because no one, I almost swore, no one knows who you are.
Yeah. Like I said, passion, man. It's passion.
Right? So knowing no one knows who you are. They're not thinking about you. Don't have a huge ego. You aren't the center of other people's universe. So speak to them as if they are the center of their universe, which they are. Was that clear?
I'm almost getting the vibe that what you should do is focus on your own universe, and then while focusing on your own universe, make your universe so full of great things that when somebody encounters you, they immediately are hooked because of all the great things you can bring to the table. Maybe something similar to that.
That was really well said. That was really well said.
You fill your universe with beautiful things, beautiful people will come to you.
Look, man, like doves of a feather flock together. I had this conversation with somebody who I knew from a previous job, who for obvious reasons I am not going to say the name of either the place that I worked or the person, okay?
Respect.
Here's the conversation. I recently moved on from a different office I was at. This was within the company, and the person from Office 1 gives me a ring and says, "Hey, I really wish we had gotten to know each other better." To which I said, "Hey, blank, oil and water don't mix." And he was really like confused about it. And I asked him, so there had been some rumors that some shady shit was going down. And I said to him, look, like, confirm or deny, I don't care, it doesn't matter, we're beyond it.
Yeah, I'm past.
But just honestly, were you doing the shady shit or not? And he said, yes. Okay? I said, that is exactly why I will never be like you. And you, unless you change, you can never get on to the level that I'm at. He's asking me, how did you meet people? He's trying to do a radio thing. How did you get into this? He's asking me about how we do this. But I said to him, look, if you do that shady type stuff in radio, you're going to fail just as fast as you did with the other thing.
Yeah, there's no shady business in radio, folks. We're a good crew here.
But he's talking to other people as if he is the center of their universe.
Yeah.
You don't think I can hear that in your conversation after 2 seconds of us talking to each other? That I'm being someone who's not that and you are? Is that kind of making sense?
You're trying to, it's like you're a foot trying to fit in a shoe that's not your shoe kind of deal.
And what you said, you were like, Crawford, it was so beautiful the way you said it. You're like, when you fill your life with so much beauty and abundance and the things that you love, then other people see that and they want to be closer to you.
Yeah.
And here's what's even cooler. People who do the opposite of that. There are some people, and I guarantee everybody knows at least one person like this, who holds on to all the worst shit in their day, and at the end of the day, they tell you all the bad stuff.
It happens.
I know, like, most people, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
If you spend your whole day filling your life with good and abundant and love and kindness and splendid and fun and enjoyable and money and stuff, the person who does the opposite of that, they're going to see you, hear you, and run as fast as they can the opposite direction.
Yeah, they're not going to want to be there.
Because the opposite end of the magnet or whatever, that one's actually their opposites attract or magnets.
Or something, yeah.
You know why that is? Let me just tell you something really cool. Magnets, so if you zoom way in, you have these things called domains, and a domain is just like a directionality. A magnet, all of their domains are in the same direction. That is why it's a magnet. You can Google this. When you put a negative end and a positive end of the magnet together, they're all actually facing the same way. Opposites don't attract. Likeness does. Oil will never mix with water. It just won't happen. It won't happen. Oil will never mix with water. Cool people are going to meet cool people. You are not the center of someone else's universe. You're the center of your own. So when you speak to them, speak as if they're the center of theirs, and your message will get across. Your art will get across. Your show will get across. You will grow. You will make more money. And we're coming back with a guest after the break.
Holy hell. Couldn't say it any better.
Right.
CFRE DriveWire.
We're going to Live in the Dream by Words Like Wildfire and That Fire by Black Tide. Catch us after the break.
We are back. Welcome, DriveWire Radio, CFRE. You have your hosts, Carter and Crawford. Carter is actually in the midst of setting up a public awareness sign right now because there is a table blocking the hallway in front of our station, our studio. And honestly, we're getting a lot of shady looks from people walking by, and we're like, hey, man, we didn't do this. So we are making a sign. We're trying to raise awareness of our innocence and how how good we are at not blocking hallways with our tables. I'm just going to keep chatting until the sign is up because the people do not know yet, but they will shortly.
Essentially, we're just trying to exonerate ourselves here. That's a big word for a means. stop getting put in jail kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let off
We're gonna put up a picture on social media just so you can kind of see exactly what we're talking about, because we here at CFRE DriveWire are all about the people. So
I mean, listen, like, I just don't understand why or who.
I didn't see who set it up, but it doesn't really make sense. There's a table; it's just blocking the hallway.
We've
I don't get
explained
it.
before. There's like a big clear wall, and people can stare it at us, and it gets really awkward when there's stuff going on outside that we have no idea.
No idea.
So we just want to go ahead and give ourselves some.
Some exoneration.
Yeah, that's the word. That's a big word, eh?
That is a big word. Yeah, I couldn't spell it, but I can barely say it. So
like OJ.
OJ, he was exonerated. Yep.
Yeah, that's.
He did not kill those people, right?
Listen,
that's the
I don't
whole
even
idea.
want to have that conversation.
It's not even a conversation.
Dude, how's your day?
Man, so my day's been okay. It's been a good Wednesday. I'm really focused on trying to get up some DriveWire cards for us. I think within the next couple weeks to a month, we're going to have some DriveWire. We're going to be handing these cards out. We're going to be handing them out all over campus. We're going to be handing out any public event we go to. I want to raise some awareness for our show. And I want to also get some more High 4 DriveWire shirts. I want to get that merch out there. The people supporting. And honestly, I've been seeing some people wearing High 4 shirts, even around Chatham. Shout out to my Chatham listeners. I've been seeing the High 4 shirts, and honestly,
I think that's pretty cool.
It's so cool, man. The reach is there. If we can keep growing that reach, we can, what is possible for
I
our.
really hope you and your 4 fingers become famous one day, and that just is a thing.
The four fingers of positivity or something. It's just happiness. Solidarity, maybe. I don't know.
The 4 fingers of positivity.
Maybe. Something. I'll think about it. I'll kick it around a little bit. It's not a goal to score yet, but we got a good guest today. It was. I think we should hype him up. He's on his way in right now. He's not in the studio, but he'll be here so shortly.
Yeah, the plane just landed for Kyle Omera, so he's just getting out of the airport now. He's flying in from
grabbing that bags,
like
man.
Brampton or something. I don't know. He's flying. For anybody who doesn't know, Brampton is not nearly that far from Mississauga.
You don't need to fly.
He's the owner of Solace Music TV. Solace Music TV. So he's a promoter of venues, of events in the Southern Ontario. He runs a blog. I'm really, really stoked for him to get here. It's going to be a really cool conversation.
It's going to be cool, man. I'm seeing like the one thing that we always kind of solidly get with the guests is people that own their own business, people that have started up a company for themselves, people that are succeeding, with their own ideas, with their own drive, and with their own kind of aspirations, and that's huge. I feel like that's what kind of that's the people we're trying to connect with this show.
Absolutely.
We're trying to connect with those people and inspire them to do what they want to do.
Yeah, man, and it takes, like, I'm going to say 2 sentences in a row that contradict each other, but okay. I don't think they do. It takes somebody who is rare to follow through on this, right? Like anything, especially a creative person, because you're so creative, why don't you just make up a gajillion ideas and then never follow through on any of them?
True.
That's my problem.
I know a few people like that. They're so geniuses, but they never do anything with their ideas.
Oh, I like that guy. There's a dude. Sorry, man.
He moved the table. He almost kind of moved the table.
He's the only one who actually picked up this table.
Nice. I do enjoy that. So, I wish these people could see.
So people who follow through are rare. Yes. Right? But at the same time, anybody could do it.
Yeah.
So it's so strange, right? Like the decision, like let's take the guy who is pretty good at guitar and was really good for a teenager, but he made a couple different decisions and now he's like, I don't know, some heavy machine operator or he's some, engineer, he's some accountant. And then let's take somebody who totally made it. Like, I don't know, like
dude, so Little Red Guitar too. He's a guy on YouTube. It's a guy I've legitimately have seen and followed for over a decade now and learned to play guitar or learned to play Blink-182 and Angel Airwaves songs and Sum 41 songs. He's been doing it for over a decade. And I think that's I don't know if that's his job, but he does it so frequently. He uploads videos. He builds guitars. He makes and customizes guitars. It's because of his love for Blink-182, and that's the only reason that's why he is where he is. And he did it. He started making those YouTube videos of just doing covers, teaching people how to play those songs. Yeah. He's one of those people who they followed their drive.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
man.
there he is.
And he didn't quit, right?
He never quit. So, no, I mean, there's I've seen negative comments on his video, and he just acknowledges. He says thanks for the view. And it's just as simple as that. You just look over the people that are really trying to bring you down,
dude. And that's so key. Like there is nobody who can slow down your progress?
Only yourself.
Imagine I hated you.
Ouch. Whew. Show canceled, right? Automatically.
No, but like imagine I actually was not me, but somebody who hates you.
Okay.
And I put this thing as my status on every social media site, and I was like, this Andrew Crawford guy's a big piece of shit. He doesn't deserve any views. Don't look at him. Don't watch him. And
Wow.
I really think he's garbage. Dude,
Okay.
the number of people who would be like, wow, why does Carter hate Andrew
Yeah, why
so
does he
much?
hate
And
this
then
guy?
they would click on your shit
Check
and
me
watch
out.
your deal. The number of people is really high.
That's true.
What's up, man?
The
How
guest
are
has
you?
walked in the room.
Good, how are you?
No
Hey,
worries,
hey,
Kyle.
welcome,
No
Kyle.
worries, Kyle.
Welcome. How's it going?
Good,
Good
how are you?
good to see you.
You got
good to
a
see you.
four-finger handshake.
Four-finger
My name's Carter, man.
handshake.
Nice
It's
to
the
meet you.
honorable welcome. You know what I mean? It's just it's a running joke. Here, I'll explain after.
Yo, so we were just kind of having a conversation specifically about growth as an individual, about getting into something, and about people who make things happen. It's like simultaneously a rare thing to do, but also it's kind of common sense things. Like someone who's extraordinary is doing just ordinary stuff, but a lot more of it. It's extraordinary, right?
Extraordinary.
So the difference between, just to finish off the thought before we introduce Kyle, the difference between someone who does make it like Satriani or Slash or Steve Vai and then somebody who's just kicking it early and doing something else are small decisions. Like, no doubt Satriani and Vai and Slash felt bad along the way and decided to keep going, whereas the other person felt bad along the way and decided
they
to change.
quit.
Right? It's rare to get to the end, but it could, like anybody could do it.
It's true.
So again, this sounds contradictory, but I don't believe it is. Kyle,
Welcome.
welcome. How much time
Welcome
do we
to
have before our
DriveWire.
next break? How much can I
I'd
get
say
out
we
of
got
this
about
guy?
13.
10 minutes? Oh, we
about
got
10
a lot of time.
minutes?
We got a
About
lot of
10 minutes? Yeah,
So this
okay.
is Kyle Omera. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I didn't get any chance before air to ask you how to pronounce your name, so I'm
Yes,
glad I did that.
Nice to meet you, my friend.
Good Irish background?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I got that. So you're the owner of Solace Music TV, promoters of venues, of events, Southern Ontario. You're doing a lot of that kind of thing?
Correct.
Can you give us a little more background? Like, what do you do?
Okay, so I started off as kind of like so it was originally called Solace Music TV.
Uh-oh.
And
Nice.
that's where we kind of had like more so of a music blog. We also did interviews. We have a YouTube channel still up you can find somewhere. I tend to cringe when I watch some of those videos from years ago because
Hey,
Tell
those
me
are the
about it.
old videos, though,
Yeah,
right? This
those are
isn't the
the
new
old
stuff. This
videos.
isn't the new.
I,
It's
This is the
old.
new
I
stuff.
spell of wrong on air, and when I see that, it's usually pretty garbage for me to watch that on myself.
Yeah.
So I feel you.
Anyway, so yeah, I started off doing interviews. I had a blog at one point where I was kind of writing reviews for albums, reviews
Nice.
for shows. I started that with my friend Keyshawn, and he's a photographer. Right now, he's doing a lot of sports photography for the Raptors, for example.
Very cool.
And so me and him decided to start this because we were going to a lot of local shows together in the Brampton area and Toronto, and we kind of wanted to, in a way, give back and promote smaller bands as well as some bigger bands as well, and kind of put our input and our thoughts in the form of reviews
Yeah,
or
whoever
photography.
anybody wants to listen and kind of check out what you guys thought, maybe check out new bands.
Yeah, exactly. So we started doing that, and then all of a sudden kind of got overwhelmed with that as well as school because I was in university at the time, and then I was working a part-time job. So that kind of took a halt, and then from there I kind of got more into booking shows. So my first show I booked was about 4 years ago in Brampton at the venue I book at called Spot One Music Hall.
Very nice.
So I started doing shows because our local scene in Brampton kind of ended after the last promoter kind of stopped booking shows.
Is it kind of is it like a very small promoter city? Like there's very few people who are trying to book those shows, or was that an old image of like that was the old Brampton, this is a new Brampton with yourself and others trying to book these shows? Or what's the situation like that in that with booking the talents and booking the shows?
Yeah, so how it started is, how I started going to shows, I guess. There was someone named Blake Gregory out there who's promoting shows. He brought a lot of cool shows to the city. Like he brought Silverstein once, I remember, for
Very
the
nice.
New Year's festival.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then like playing Brampton is like so odd. But I
Kind
remember
of
going
out of the way almost.
But he had experience in booking shows, and he just put it on, and it was sick. And then lots of other smaller shows at like All Stars and stuff like that. So I saw that, and then he kind of stopped doing shows. He got older, and just wanted to not do that
Just wanted
anymore.
to retire,
I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, I kind of want to take this over. So I kind of asked a couple peers for some advice. Oh, how would you do this? How would you do that? And then once I did a lot of research, I realized, hey, I can do this myself. So I threw the first show. It went well.
Nice.
And it kind of got the ball rolling for what I'm doing now, working with bigger artists, doing more events, and yeah.
Very cool, man. That's like it's like natural progression of events. It's just kind of a natural growing tree here. You've just been watering it and it's been growing perfectly.
What was that natural progression like for you from the first show to now? How many are you doing now, kind of?
It's 4 years I've been doing it, and I typically do I try to do a show every month or every other month.
Okay.
Very cool.
Excellent. And how has it grown from just that initial show, I don't know how this is going to go, to show a month?
It's kind of play it by ear, see how much people care, because the bottom line is when you're running an event, it's about, you can put in all the work yourself, you can do all the promotions, make sure all your ducks are in a row, as they say, but if people aren't there to support, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, ticket sales aren't following, then what do you do?
Exactly. You can't, I can't be out there losing money for every show I put on. There could be a handful of people that come and they have a good time at my shows, but if there's not enough where I'm I don't really care about making money, but as long as I'm not losing money, because when you're working with artists that have guarantees, you have to come up with that money, as well as venue fees, as well as a door person, just all sorts
staffing,
of
the
expenses.
food,
Yeah.
the liquor, if you have an open bar or something, possibly like that.
Yeah.
The fees add up very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. It all adds up. So as long as you have the support there, which I've seen, and I've seen it in surprising amounts at some of my shows, where I would throw a show, let's say, with 5 local bands. No one's a touring band, no one's signed, but there would be 100 plus people at the door.
Wow.
That amazes me that people in the GTA and in Brampton will actually come out and support just local artists.
Just the local bands, yeah.
They're not on TV, they're not on radio.
Yeah,
They have
right?
1,000 views on YouTube on their music video. That's it. And then yeah.
What kind of stuff usually gets that kind of support? What's popping right now?
It all depends on, I guess, what I don't want to say this in a rude way, but what the flavor
Crawford,
of the
you're a
week
piece
is.
of shit. Sorry, I thought that's where you were going with that.
I'm sorry, I didn't put cologne on today.
Sorry, man, don't mean to cut you off. We like to have fun here.
All about fun.
He said, I don't want to say this in a rude way, and I put some words in his mouth. He doesn't think
Yeah.
you're garbage. Sorry, Crawford.
Not
I'm
yet.
just-
I
Not
don't know
yet.
you
He
well
just
enough.
met me, man.
Yeah,
He just
maybe
met
later.
me. Maybe later.
Yeah, it the flavor of the week, or what genre is really catching the eyes and ears of
People right
showgoers in
now,
Ontario, Southern Ontario specifically. A lot of shows I work are either hardcore or metalcore, and then I do a different kind of music, which is pop punk or alternative rock in general. So I kind of vary between those two styles. I don't really dip into anything too different than those different styles. I don't really do hip hop or rap or EDM or country. Not that I wouldn't. It's just how I see it as, why would I work with those genres of music when I'm not too familiar with them and the scene myself?
Well, yeah, why would you it's like putting your foot in the water, you don't know what's in it. Kind of why
Yeah.
would you want to do that?
Yeah, enough people like EDM and hip hop and rap,
For sure.
obviously. And there's obviously a huge market for there, but that's not something I want to tap into necessarily.
Maybe yet.
Maybe down the line.
Down the line,
We'll see.
We'll see what the future brings, obviously.
Yeah.
You never know. No, I have found that it's so hard to read certain genres, because some shows, as you said, you'll have a bill of 5 local bands and you have a couple hundred people there, where you can bring in a band like an A-lister, let's say, or maybe not an A-lister per se, let's say a B-plus lister, a pretty well-known artist, and then have 3 local setters, and then you only got 50 people to show up. It just, sometimes it's all about, it just doesn't, I haven't personally been able to read it, but that's why I'm not in the career. That's why I'm not in your field, obviously, because this is what you do. You're the master of this.
Yeah, well, I won't say master, but I like to say that with time, it's kind of like a snowball effect. I'm growing traction in my business,
Growing the name.
my shows. Each show kind of gets bigger and bigger. But then, for example, there's random shows that will just fail and I'll lose money. For example, I had a show this summer. I brought an international touring artist from the States. They had an off date of like a bigger tour they're on. So I'm like,
Right on.
I'm going to snag this band and bring them to Brampton. So I brought the band to Brampton. I ended up losing money at the end of the day, lost a couple $100. I still had a good time working with the artists. The show still went well. A lot of people had fun, but it was at the end of the day, I kind of didn't really calculate all my expenses to the fullest, realizing I thought more people would come out, more people would be excited, and the people that were there had a good time.
They were excited, they loved it, but
it
wasn't enough.
I thought it would be a bit bigger show. But yeah, that was like 2 shows again now. I think, 2 shows ago. So, yeah, and then the show I just threw last Friday was like one of my most successful shows, and I just had 5 local bands, most from Brampton too. So
it's so weird, right? It's just so it's a weird choppy water. You never really kind of know how to read it. But I love that local support. That's the one thing I found because I'm from London, and that's what I always found as well is those local shows where it was all local bands. The amount of people that would come out for those was amazing because it's like friends supporting friends and then friends of friends who want to support the friends, and it's just a big inner circle.
Yeah, exactly. It's all support. It's all about like the key when I like book shows. If I want to work with like a bigger artist, say from out of town or out of country, it's key to find some strong local support artists to open the show because they will bring all their friends out, which will support for the bigger artists, and hopefully they stick around for the bigger artists headlining.
For sure.
But then they, of course, have their own draw, so they're bringing those people out, and it's kind of like you swap fan bases out. So if the opening band plays, they bring out their friends. They don't know the headliner, but they're going to go to support the opening band.
They want to see the
they're
opener,
staying for the headliner, and they're like, wow, that band's really good, actually. I'm going to check them out, too.
Check them out, yeah.
So it's all growth for the artist and for myself and my business.
That's a real-life story with me and Serial Hawk and Weed Eater. I went out to see Serial Hawk, ended up staying for Weed Eater, ended up falling in love with Weed Eater. It's just 2 great bands, man. I'm like, okay, I dig it. Whatever. It's $10. 2 good bands. I love it.
You may as well.
Exactly.
You're there anyways.
I kind of have questions of how did you get your in? Like with that relationship with the original guy, did you create kind of the friendships off of people that you had talked to him about, people that you had met through him?
Well, I wasn't actually like close with him. I may have talked to him in passing, come to think of it. But I remember I think I may have hit him up on Facebook and just asked a couple questions.
Kind of like how he did it, kind of how he made the connections. How he
made
dipped his foot in the water, as I like to think,
Made like a brief connection with him and then a couple other friends. And then I just straight up contacted the venue myself, the Spot One, which I've been booking at. And then I kind of asked a couple questions about how booking the venue works and can I do this show? This is what my show is going to be like. And they're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, okay, so we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go just like that.
Yeah, and then I went off. I fired some emails off to the bands, and then my first show was booked. I announced it, and I was like, wow, I'm kind of nervous.
I'm doing it.
I think that was my first show, and I think there was what's called a guarantee for like one of the bands. So guarantee is
guarantee
like
pay or whatever.
Yep. You have to pay this band X amount of dollars, regardless of the turnout of your show.
Yeah, I've dealt with that when I tried to book Doug Benson one year, and it's like it's $10,000 to get him. I'm like, well, I don't know that I can pull that return. I don't have $10,000, so maybe not. Interesting. Do you? I mean, one of the big things that we always love to talk about here is kind of the future. I like to think of where you're going. What do you have for? I mean, not. I don't like to put it because that's pressure. I don't like putting pressure on people's shoulders. I hate it myself. It hurts my back. What do you have any plans for what do you got planned for the next 6 months? Do you have any kind of shows for the end of the year, Christmas time? Obviously it's Halloween season here, as you can see from the baby statue that we were talking about a little earlier. Yeah, it's missing a part of its arm. It's really cannibalistic.
It's spooky.
It's kind of it's spooky. See, that's what we were going. We were trying to figure out if it's spooky or if it's satanic or something.
Hey, can you drink another Red Bull for me?
I mean, no. This one's still got like a pretty good amount in it.
Man, listen. We got to go to a break. We're coming back. We're going to land the question that you were about to ask him. I don't mean to cut you off, but Dom's taking his belt off again. I don't want to get hit. Listen, I got a couple questions when we come back. I want to know how you decide who to go with for a band. I have to guarantee them. How do I know how much draw they're going to have? How do I guess? And you mentioned already, you can't always be right, but I want to know strategies when we come back. We're going to go to break. This break involves a band that our man, Mr. Omera, used to actually be in, right? Arcane Ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, as long as I'm right about that. We have Nothing to Lose by Billy Talon and Petrified by Arcane Ghosts coming up. Catch us CFRE Radio. Check ya later. What's up?
Boom.
DriveWire Nation.
CFRE. DriveWire Nation.
We got
gotta
some
get
laughs
that.
on that one.
Well, we got a good
Stacey's
crowd. We got a
laughing
good
at
green
me.
room, you know. Got
Yeah,
a
I don't
good
know. I had a
crowd.
little bit of a stutter. Sorry.
Just a stutter.
My bad.
CFRE, welcome back. DriveWire.
Kyle
is our guest today.
Kyle Omera.
What's up?
Is it still called Solstice?
It was never called Solstice.
It was never
It
called
was
Solstice.
never called Solstice.
Oh, I apologize. It's
Yeah,
called
it was-
Solace.
That's
Is it still
Solace.
called Solace?
So started as Solace Music TV, and now it's just a promotions company. So I'm calling it Solace Music Promotions.
Not
So
Solstice.
a slight difference.
Solace. Okay, so now it's Solace Music Productions. And you're putting on events, promotions.
That's okay. It's Solace, as long as you get that keyword. in
Solace.
there.
Solace.
That's the branding. Solace.
Sorry, man.
Anything
yeah,
else?
it is.
Sweet.
Man, listen, these guys have a band called Words Like Wildfire. Words Like Wildfire.
He knows them.
You
but
know them?
I've worked with them.
You like them?
Yep.
They're cool.
Cool dudes.
Good
I
guys.
mess their name up almost every time. I want to say Worlds Like Wildfire. I want to say Words Like Wildflower. Like I just every
Pretty sure
time.
he said the world's on fire one time.
It
It's
just
just like
is
that's
not.
just not even
it
right,
just,
bro.
So sorry if I keep calling it Solstice.
We love you,
Solace
boys.
Music
Yeah,
Promotions.
shout out Words Like Wildfire.
Yeah, man, they're dope. Really dope. I like. I've said it a lot of times. I love that they did the whole lights with their show.
Yeah, that
Love
definitely
that.
adds some more production value to their performance.
Hugely.
Makes you remember them.
Yeah, and
know?
also a lot of bands their level don't do stuff like that. They don't bring lights with them.
No.
And some bands are against it, and some bands like it. But I don't think it really hinders your performance. Like some people will say, "Oh, like why do you need that?" But I'm like, it's not really a hindrance. If anything, it will make you memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
why
benefits
not?
you a lot.
Yeah. And
Why not?
I love the way, just while we're talking about them, I love the way that they figured it out to be able to be put together so quickly. So they essentially have it assembled in 3 main parts, and they plug it together like Legos, and then it's good to go. That was a really huge part of the conversation that I remember.
That was awesome.
I want to ask you, though, what are your favorite type of events that you've kind of gotten into?
What do you mean by events? Like music events or like shows, like specific shows I've done, or?
I was going to leave it open, but since you're making me do the work.
It was an open-ended question. Now it's like, no, let's
Yeah,
try that. No, I don't want to figure
musically,
it out.
or artistically. What kind of stuff do you always find you look forward to the most, and why?
I like. Well, now that I'm older, I would say I like shows kind of with like less bands and that don't end super late. Since like even though like I'm not actually old, like I'm still really young. Like I like getting home at a reasonable time. So if I see a show that has 3 bands on it, ending at like 10 or 10:30, and I'm like, that's sick. I'm gonna
That's
go. I'm
solid,
gonna
yeah.
watch all the bands. But when I see like lineups that have like 6 or 7 bands, I'm like, these bands have to be like really good for me to like stand there all night.
It's for like that's like it's commitment of a time.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yeah, like I do like festivals and like what they bring to the table with the amount of different artists you can have on one bill in one room. But it is kind of like a give and take. It's like it has to depend on the lineup and like how badly do I really want to stand there. Like for example,
Because that's a huge factor.
That
Yeah,
matters
that's a
lot,
huge factor.
especially for people kind of like I'm disabled a little bit. You know, I mean, I got a messed up back, and my one leg's a little shorter than the other one. So standing in a period of time for 6 to 8 hours, that's unbelievably uncomfortable for a person like myself.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if it's I want to see let's say the first and the second band, because I got some really good local bands that when they get put on a festival lineup, they're usually the first or second band, and
Exactly,
that
yeah.
sucks because it's like, okay, so I got to be there at 6 o'clock, and the last band that I really wanted to see goes on at 9:30. That's a huge time frame, of just difference between, I mean, it's not that large in scale of what it could be,
Yeah.
but it's like it's a big window.
But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was gonna say, for example, last December, the band Counterparts, they threw a Christmas show at the Opera House in Toronto. And the lineup was like 7 or 8 bands, but it ended up being bands that I all loved. I loved all of them. So I did stay for like the entire show.
Nice.
Even though I was like on my feet, like I just finished like working, and I think I went straight down to the show. It was like a really long day. I think it was like 5 or 6 hours of music.
Oof.
I was like, wow, am I really going to do this? And then afterwards, I was like super tired, but I'm like, you know what? Every band killed it. It was a great
Super
time.
happy you did.
Super happy about it. So whatever. But like, it really made me think about like getting older and going to shows for all these years. And like when I was younger, I was like, wow, I could definitely like do this all the time. But now I'm like, there's 5 bands playing. I don't know. Maybe I'll show up for the last 3 or 2.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I've been there. I've done it. I mean, I hate to say it, but I've selected bands that I want to see over, and I'm like, I'll just show up a little later.
Yeah.
I'm still paying for the ticket price, right?
Exactly.
They're still gonna get paid.
So they're still getting the benefit.
Still getting the benefit.
That, so.
I just didn't see them.
Yeah.
And that stays between me and myself and I.
Yeah. No, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about that. Sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I'll go like in the middle of the show and just come on in, and then I'll tell them too. I won't be like, hey man, I loved your set, it was so awesome, when really I was like still at home or like driving there.
I'm not gonna blatantly lie to them. I definitely won't do that. No.
Yeah.
There's a difference between it's like, I'll support you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, it was just good, brother. Even though I wasn't there, I vibed it. It was good, you know.
Yeah.
How do you fill a room?
With people.
That's I mean,
Usually.
dogs. I thought dogs were allowed to come to concerts now. I mean, it's a dog-friendly universe we're moving towards.
I want to say a dog has been to one of my shows.
That's amazing.
I don't know if it was inside. It was outside for sure, because then a lot of people crowded the door, and I'm like, what the hell? Like,
What
the
the
band's
hell's
playing,
there's a dog
come
here?
inside. But there's a dog. But yeah, anyways, in a more serious answer, I would say it's really important to know your market. So if you're booking a bigger pop punk band, for example, you have to understand when you're booking it, because that's important. Like, obviously a weekend is better than a weekday every time. That's pretty common sense. But you also got to understand that the time of year
matters
as well. So for example, if you're booking a show right around Christmas, there's lots of other stuff going on. People have lots of other expenses. There's lots of like holiday shows like in Toronto that like bands and like the scene I book in like host. So there's a lot of competition, and you do have to worry about the competition of other shows. Like,
so you got to fight to be noticed almost. There.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, I book in Brampton. Brampton is 40 minutes from Toronto. That's where most of the shows are. So I'm constantly in competition with Toronto promoters.
Yeah.
And Toronto bands playing, but it's something you got to deal with, and you got to hope for the best.
There's always going to be competition kind of deal. Like, you know, you just got to fight to be the one that gets noticed there.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes along with when you're booking a band, you got to make sure that they're not playing a similar market at the same time as your show. So Toronto is my competition always. So it's like if a band wants to book a tour and they want to play Toronto on Friday and they want to play Brampton on Saturday, and they like message me or email me saying that, I'm probably going to say no.
Can't do it.
Because the people that would come out to their Toronto shows, they would also come out to the Brampton shows more than likely. So if the show is in Toronto, the Toronto people are going to stay. They're going to go to the Toronto show on the Friday.
And they already went to the Friday show.
Yeah,
they don't need to go to the Saturday show.
On the Saturday. So spread it out. That's like the number one tip I can give to like upcoming bands is spread out your dates. Don't play your hometown so often. Don't play Toronto like every month because you're getting an offer. And make sure your shows are spaced out.
Interesting. See, those are all very important.
But so one of the things that's kind of come up on the show as well, which is, I do not mean to contradict you.
Yeah.
So spread out your dates. I agree with that. I think that's accurate. And something that's come up kind of that is a little bit antagonistic to that is like play as many shows as you can, right? So as a band coming up, you really do want to get yourself out there to as many people as possible. You really do want to find that new person. You really do want to find that other promoter who could hear you or see you, or the right person to sign your deal or spread your deal or to shake that hand. So how do you spread them out and play as many times as you possibly can at the same time?
That's a good question too. So
I love having good questions.
Good questions are all this guy
when
does.
a band is just starting and they're just playing shows, I'm all for playing a lot of shows, playing as much as you can, but it is important to remember, like, after your first few months of playing shows, okay, if we're from Brampton, we're not going to play Brampton every month. We're not even going to play Toronto every month, because that's just going to kind of lessen your draw at shows. And promoters, they want to work with bands that'll bring out people that will promote their shows and play a good set. So if you're playing Toronto every month, for example, and the first show you bring out like 20 people, the second show you bring out like 10, the third you bring out like 2 people, they're going to be like, okay, you need to stop playing Toronto if you want to play my shows. Like, take a break, play like once every few months, and kind of get in the routine of that. Now, when you're a newer band and you're wanting to play to like as many new faces as you can every night and kind of get experience playing shows, I would recommend playing a bunch of shows at the start, as long as they're in different markets. Like, for example, if you're a smaller band and you want to play literally from like Southern Ontario to like Northern Ontario, I think that's a great idea. Like, you can play, for example, like Windsor, London, Toronto, Hamilton, Barrie, Ottawa, Kingston. Like, none of those markets really come into contact with each other, and you're getting a
They're all
big
separated so
spread
big,
across the province. So I think that's a great idea. But like I said, like Toronto, Brampton, like I see bands do it all the time. It makes me cringe.
That's one thing that I've got to kind of see with some Chatham local bands that I've kind of seen growing up as well. Because Chatham kind of is a scene that, you know, it's not going to be on. I'm going to be honest here, Chatham folks. I mean, it's a scene that nobody kind of pays attention to unless you make them pay attention to it. So I've seen them kind of, you know, they go to Windsor and they go to London and then they go to Toronto and Hamilton, and then even venture down in the St. Catharines market. I feel like a lot of people kind of ignore that whole St. Catharines kind of wing there. But what I've seen them actually do is start getting shows in Nova Scotia and Ottawa and like in Quebec as well, like trying to navigate east to those other provinces, because I think, as you said, kind of going to those new markets and finding those new crowds, that kind of what it sparks a wildfire that can kind of catch, right? Like finding the new faces to impress, almost like different crowds, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely good to get out there, even out east, all the way out in eastern Canada and out west in like western Canada, of course. And the hard part about touring Canada, though, for someone who's never toured before, so this is just from my knowledge, is that the drives are so long, which is pretty obvious even if you haven't toured.
Yeah.
But it comes down to it being worth it. Like, if you're going to drive literally like 12 to like 15 hours for your show, and you're going to roll up to a show that has 10 people there, you're playing at like 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday, and the promoter pays you like $30, you kind of got to like think, is this really worth it? Is this something I want to be doing? But at the same time, you kind of got to grind when you're a starting band and go through that in order to get to the next level and to grow your fan base.
That's kind of it. You got to go red before you go green, almost. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like you got to work to get to that fame level.
Yeah, and what I can add at the same time is the faster, like, so many people through this show, they reach out and they ask, like, how do we do it fast? And what I would say to that is, like, the fastest way is the slowest way. And again,
the natural way.
I'm all into contradicting myself today. It's like fourth time on the show. But the reality is like, look, like, if a bunch of professional musicians, let's just say, if the best drummer, the best bassist, the best guitarist, and the best rhythm guitarist and vocalist all got together to make a band, they would actually get big tomorrow. If they were all amazing, like, really, just think about this. The best guitarist, the best drummer, best bassist, best in the world all got together and made an album. It would be huge immediately because it would be so good.
Yep.
Well, so how do I get better faster, Carter? I say work on your music, because then when you do play that other show, you're gonna kind of blow up.
There's a guy juggling. I mean,
we have a juggler outside.
It's drawing everyone's attention in the studio way. It's crazy.
Except for our guest. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, he's dead. He's
like
dead eye
hyper
on us.
into it. Yeah, that's good.
Don't want to be rude. There is a lot going on, though. I kind of had a little glimpse.
And that's the glory and the downside of this beautiful glass window is you got to focus on us, but sometimes you get entertainment in the background where we're just not doing it, you know. So
get your damn chops together. If you're gonna put on a show, put on a show. Make it a show. Get really good at your skill. That way, it's not just power chords. Maybe there's cool licks. Maybe there's cool sound. Maybe there's cool drum beat. Maybe you're all playing together like a band. Maybe you have your sound together. Maybe you have your like volume set up. Maybe you have dope ass lyrics that are actually so deep that even the drunk people are like, fuck, man, I gotta listen to that a second time. Like, there's always something to help you get bigger in your show as well as spreading your dates out and spreading out the shows. I like that.
Right.
Have you seen any examples of that happening where, like, you know that the band is better off after having played one of the events you've put on? You're like, yeah, they have more support now.
Yeah, they got more.
Yeah, I don't want to like toot my own horn there, but like
Do it, man.
I've definitely seen bands grow after playing some of my events.
Nice.
And I love it because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help bands grow and kind of find their footing in the scene from a perspective of someone who's kind of been going to local shows for like 8 years now in Brampton and Toronto and like Southern Ontario in general. So like I know what works. I kind of know what's gonna last, and I kind of know what's not gonna last. And like I do try to give like any pointers I have to bands. Some bands are like okay with criticism, and then some bands aren't. So I kind of refrain sometimes on the criticism because they feel like I'm just kind of trying to tear them down. But yeah, I don't know.
Good point.
Some bands do need to, I would say, work on their craft, and then some bands, they have their craft, they have everything solid. It's just they're either not promoting themselves right, or they're not in the right market. They're not marketing themselves right.
Okay. So what would you? So without naming the band, if you could say to them what to change for you, what are some common mistakes that you're like, wow, I would obviously do this way different?
Yeah. Just in my personal preference, I think that if you're not active on your social media pages, I think that's a huge missed opportunity.
It's kind of climb to number one, right?
Yeah.
Like the social medias are so important now.
Exactly. Like you can find a much larger fan base and keep whatever fans you have going now, like kind of in the know by posting your shows regularly, posting your music.
Even band practice, right? Like that. I mean, I think we heard that. I apologize to the guests if you can remember and I can't, but I think we've had a few guests in the past reference that were like showing.
Nikki P.
Would have been Nikki P then probably?
Yep.
When she said, showing the behind the scenes of what actually happens is so engaging to the fans because they only see what happens. They don't see what is the building process to that. And that really engages them and they fall in love with that and they just kind of share that.
Yeah, that's actually something that I like when bands do, when they kind of do like behind the scenes or like vlogs. Like for example, this band Bearings from Ottawa, they actually just came off a tour from September, and they recently posted like a tour vlog. It's like a little like 3-minute video that they have with one of their songs in the background, but you just kind of see like little fun stuff they do on tour. And I think that's great because you kind of get to like know the band more, and you kind of have like a deeper connection like past the music.
Yeah,
so things
how they
like that are
created it.
cool. And it's so simple to do too. So I
Yeah.
don't know why bands don't work on putting out content because their fans like to consume this content, so why not?
Yeah, and the more content, the better. Really, that's what we've been saying literally the entire time we've started DriveWire. We want to deliver the most content we can because we've heard it, we've seen it. The more content, the more reception, the better the people like it, the better the people interact.
Yeah.
The more people come.
And I would say that, so spread your dates out and spread your geography out is something we spoke about. I would say do the exact opposite of that on social media. Like, make as much content as often as you can, little pieces here and there, some snippets, some, like as much as you can behind the scenes. Because now it almost feels like I'm part of your band coming up. It almost feels like I'm in band practice, putting in the time and effort. I mean, frankly, the fans aren't as much as the band is, but it would feel
like
as if, now they're kind of in tune and they have a stake in the game when you win or lose.
It's like when Instagram, as you're saying, the social media there, dude, one of my favorite things to do is, one of my favorite notifications I get is where it says from Instagram, Taboo has gone live. And it's like, I can watch him literally in the studio producing his music. And that's just cool because he asks you what you think of it. He asks you, hey, what would you guys do differently maybe? What would you do in this situation? And you can voice an input, and he'll read it, and he'll be like, that's cool, man. Maybe I'll try that out or whatever. And that's such an engaging factor that I just, you have to love them for it. And you have to love every kind of band or artist even that does that. Even glass artists, there's some glass artists that literally stream themselves blowing the glass. And that's incredible to watch because it's like, this is art being made.
Yeah, and that's a really cool feature, too, that Instagram has now, too.
Yeah,
going live.
we should start doing some Instagram live drive wires. I mean, we've talked about it. I mean,
I always get in trouble. I feel like I can post whatever I want on there, and then I have a conversation with the top, and I get in trouble with it. So I don't know if I do want to go on live, guys. I'm going on strike. I'm going on a live strike until I get control of that social. Yeah,
hey guys, it's Crawford from DriveWire. I still can't get Carter on the live today, but I'll turn it.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Tell Dom he's wrong.
We gotta go to break.
We're going to Bed of Nails by Cancer Band, Familiar Realm by CKY. Stoked to hear that one. I actually don't know if I even know that song yet. So I'm going to have to, wide eyes all around. I'm going to have to learn it and figure it all out. You got Carter, you got Crawford, you got Kyle Omera coming back on DriveWire CFRE.
We are back. Welcome to CFRE DriveWire Radio.
You sounded like my grandma's talk show for a second.
Wheel of Fortune in the house. Jeopardy. I don't know. I'm just eager to get out of here. We've had such a good chat. It's the end of the show. We're drinking a little Red Bull.
Crawford's ready to leave. He's like, why are you even... I'm amazed you're still here, bro.
I took my shoes off. I'm cozy, I'm cozy. Shows are actually still on.
This is the part of the show where usually I have a whole entire novel written. Usually
at least
I have
a couple pages.
Several to many pages written down.
Several sentences. Let's.
I only actually have 3 points of yours.
But good points.
So I'm going to take a second when I say the point to have a conversation with you about them.
Okay.
It's going to get deep.
Point 1, timing is king. I wholeheartedly resonate with that. So Nikki P, do you know who Nikki Papiano is?
No
Nikki
idea.
P? She's sweet. Shout out to Nikki.
Shout out Nikki P.
Nikki is a publicist, a global publicist for artists. She has a lot of really, really remarkable artists. She's also working with Sound Drive. Thank you very much for that. She came on our show, and we were gracious, and she said the same point. And she's like, look, you must be conscious about the timing of the other things that are similar to your event, your release, your video, your sound, your song, your photo, whatever, I don't care. The timing of this in relation to the other stuff in your marketplace is the number one thing you need to pay attention to. That's what she said.
It's what makes it or break it kind of deal.
It's huge. Want to elaborate?
100%.
Nice.
And that's what, if anyone were to ask me advice on, I've already touched on this in the past, but if anyone were to give me or ask for advice on how they want to start promoting shows, I would say learn your market, don't cross over on other events, try to not step on toes when you're starting, but also just learn, build relationships. That's important.
Also, don't step on them toes because, you got this kind of guided the relationship. Sorry.
Exactly. And, just make sure that your shows are spread out and not close. Like, if it's there's a big show in Toronto, but you want to throw a show in the same genre the next night in Brampton, that's not going to work out. You're really going to harm yourself there. So it's really, really focusing on that in order to have successful events.
Yeah, and that leads beautifully into my next point, which is spread out your dates and spread out the shows geographically. So timing, everyone's heard someone say the word space-time continuum. It sounds like something from freaking Star Trek, but you have to keep in mind that you are both at the same place in a time at all times. I could show up to the right place on a Tuesday evening and not be in the right place for my show on Wednesday. It's the same studio, wrong time. So timing is key. Oddly enough, really is directly related to spreading out your shows geographically and spreading them out on the dates, and also paying attention to relative shows. If I'm, a guitar-heavy pop-punk band, and there's guitar-heavy pop-punk playing all week, maybe I should play 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now when there's a lot of other stuff that's not like that.
People are going to be burned out from that at the end of that week. They don't want to.
It's hugely important, man.
Yeah,
it's hugely important. I love that. Spreading out the shows geographically is tough because now you have to deal with the cost of moving your band and getting over there and getting back and eating and you know what I mean. So you're right. You have to make sure there is some sort of support for that.
But it is an investment. Being in a band is an investment. You're going to have to invest your own money if you want to actually do it as a living and actually tour. and you're gonna have to suffer the losses. And then you'll probably reap the rewards if you're actually putting in the effort and you're marketing yourself properly. You're learning your craft. It'll work out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to believe in yourself. But yeah, like I said before, it's like some things aren't worth it. Like I learned that from my end, and then like the band end when I was like briefly playing in bands. For example, it's like if I'm going to try to book a band that I really want to book, but they live 10 hours away and they want to drive up for one show, it's not going to be worth it for them. But if I'm like,
tough.
hey, here's like $10,000, do you want to do it now? They'll be like, yeah, we'll drive 10 hours for one show. We don't care. So it's all about making it worth it, I guess. Same as like when you're in a touring band. But like I said, you also have to take what you can get when you're in a touring band. It's like you might not get paid a lot to start, but it's kind of building on that.
That'll come with your shows.
And ways that I would say it to make it worth it. Great. Maybe I do lose money on it, but as it being an investment, perhaps I'm opening and getting paid a little less for a really big band. So you mentioned earlier artist crossover where 67 people love Crawford, 25 people love Carter. We do a band together and 97 show up. I don't know if my math is correct.
I forget your numbers. I'm sorry.
Good. That's actually probably for the better. The point is that my guests, I want to say customers, the people who love me and the people who love you show up. Now they can both love both of us, which is really cool. I like that. So maybe if you're spreading yourself out geographically and you are going to take a hit financially, make sure it's worth it in other non-monetary terms. Am I getting a huge group of people looking at my show? Is this our biggest show yet? Are we gaining traction or losing traction here? And it might be worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, a perfect example of that cross collaboration, Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus. Old Town Road, man. You got country and rap, yet it combined those two markets together, and then it created a superstar of a hero of a musician kind of deal, you know? Nobody kind of knew who this guy was before. Now everybody wants him on their city.
Exactly.
Cross collaboration of genres.
And something I actually want to add to that as well is I do shows that are kind of cross genre a lot of the time, I would say. So, for example, like I'll have a show with a bunch of heavy bands, but then I'll throw a band like a pop punk or like even like a pop band like right in the middle. Like, for example, I had a show back in January where I had a bunch of hardcore and metalcore bands, and then I had my friends in Romancer play, and they're more so like kind of like a shoegazy, like alternative rock band, so they do not fit in at all, but it's really cool to have that kind of in the middle of all the heaviness, because it kind of gets their fans to check out a bunch of
Other
heavier
music,
bands they probably wouldn't listen to, and vice versa.
And it kind of comes at, we can all agree, if you're going hard for the whole set or the whole show of 3 different, 4 different, 5 different hardcore bands, you're exhausted. You can have a nice little period in the middle where you're enjoying, just genuinely enjoying some good music and not throwing elbows. Be a good time. It's
Exactly, and like the audience, like I'm sure they appreciated the break from moshing and just kind of like relaxing and like having their ears kind of settle too as well.
Yeah, not ringing. Well,
Yeah.
still ringing though, with good.
It's kind of like how if you go to Shoppers and you're buying a cologne, they'll give you some coffee to smell in between the colognes, you know what I mean? Or eating ginger when you're eating the sushi to clear your palate
Exactly.
before you go to the next one. It gives you that break, right? Like it gives you that calm, that chill, that okay, let's see it. And I bet you people, when they do appreciate it, they actually, a lot of those people who did initially think it'd be a heavier show, great, they hear this little shoegazy, punky, rocky, but I bet you there's enough overlap that they're like, wow, I actually am digging that. And then again, you get that traction for both bands, which is cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very key too with
Yeah.
building your shows, because people know, hey, Kyle's shows, they don't always just have heavy bands all the time. He mixes it up,
mix
and I
and
like that.
matches.
It's cool. Like something my mom says when she sees my show, she's like, is it all those bands with the screaming tonight, or are there like some rock bands, some normal bands? I'm like, okay.
Mom, they're all normal bands.
They're all
you know?
normal bands. You just don't like them.
I mean,
which is
Marilyn Manson's on the
fine.
bill, and he's a little not normal, but he's still good. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you'll love it.
Some of them want to abuse you. So I was singing that today. That's
It's a
funny you
good
brought
tune,
him up.
man. He's a good artist. I can't deny his live show a little lacking, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Drugs
comment
and
on it. I've
alcohol
never
do
seen it,
that.
to be honest with you.
No one really has because he doesn't show. That's the whole deal. That's
Is
that's
it?
the whole joke. It's
Oh,
that he's
so it
just-
was a joke?
It was a joke.
Oh, okay.
That's a plane going over your head.
My bad, guys. Sorry. I'm added to the list of stuff that I've said that's dumb on air, I guess. I don't know. We are
I
gonna
was
come
gonna
out with that video, by the way, and it's gonna be a doozy. You watch. It'll be the stuff that Carter and Crawford say is ridiculous.
All
This
right.
has been Kyle Omera with Solace Music Promotions.
Where can we check it out online? If people want to check you out, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit.
Wow, you asked him a
LinkedIn.
question and then you answered it. all
No,
by
I'm listing
yourself.
possibilities. Like where?
So,
Where can we find you?
I actually just restarted an Instagram page. I'm trying to build that. So if you guys are listening, you want to give me a follow to stay updated with my shows.
Got my phone right
Solace
here.
Music Promotions
Did I
is the
say
name.
Productions?
Productions.
Dude, I
it's
was
okay.
trying so hard to get it, man.
And if you go to that page, give that page a like, you will see in one of my most recent posts that I'm actually doing a show next month, November 22nd at Spot 1 in Brampton. I'm bringing Pine from Ottawa down to Brampton for a headline show. They're going to be playing with Certainty from London,
I
as
suppose
well
right
as
there.
Nightwell from Toronto,
Bam.
and the BPR, which is from Brampton-ish and the area.
That's
So
awesome.
covers $10.
Oh, you have to hit the back
definitely
button.
should come out, support the local scene, and support the bands.
We got Pine, Certainty, Nightwell, and the BPR. It's going to be a sweet show. It's happening the 22nd of November, 2019, the Rutherford Road, Brampton, Ontario. Doors at 7. It's $10. Bring a 20 and give 5 extra to the band.
Yeah. Or just bring a 10 so I don't have to give you change the whole night. Either or, as long as you're paying, we're all good.
My man.
Just bring a 10. Listen, man, Kyle, thank you so much for showing up. It's been a lot of fun to have you on the
It's been a
show.
great
Thank
chat,
you.
brother.
This has been DriveWire, CFRE Radio. You got Carter, you got Crawford, you got Kyle.
Now you got Lincoln Park.
Wednesdays, 5 p.m. You got Lincoln Park with Giving Up coming up.
See you free.
Good song.